Welcome in the class of physiology. In the previous class, we have learned about oropharyngeal stage of swallowing, the esophageal sphincter, about the peristaltic wave and the anatomy of the stomach. We have also learned about the gastric emptying and mixing, and we have also learned about the factor regulating gastric motility and the emptying process. So in this class we will cover gastric glands, its secretions and the control of the gastric gland. So in this class we will learn about the gastric digestive juice, different type of cells present in the stomach, that is exocrine, endocrine cells, as well as the paracrine cells, the stomach mucosa and the gastric glands, the pepsinogen activation in the stomach through the HCl, and how the HCl is secreted uh, through the uh, different cells which is present in gastric mucosa, and the control of the gastric secretions. There are two type of phases exist in the gastric secretion, that is cephalic and gastric phases, and the inhibition of gastric secretions, how a gastric secretion is inhibited. So the gastric mucosa barrier and the digestive process in the stomach we will cover in this lecture, as well as we will learn about the absorption process in the stomach. So gastric digestive juice is secreted by the gland which is located at the base of the gastric pits, and each day of the stomach that secrete about 2 liter of the gastric juice. So the cells that secrete gastric juice are in the lining of the stomach and the gastric mucosa, which is divided into two distinct areas, that is oxyntic mucosa that line the body portion of the stomach, and the pyloric gland area. The pyloric gland area, that is also called PGA, which lines the antrum portion of the stomach. So the luminal surface of the stomach is pitted with the deep pocket formed by the infolding of the gastric mucosa. So the first part of these invagination are also called gastric pits, and at the end of which lie the gastric glands. So the variety of secretory cells lines these invaginations. Some exocrine and some endocrine or paracrine cells exist. So first we will learn about the gastric exocrine secretory cells, and the gastric exocrine secretory cells which lies in the oxyntic mucosa, and in this figure we can see the gastric pits, and this is the lumen of the gastric pits gland, and it has three type of gastric exocrine secretory cells, that is mucus cells, chief cells and parietal cells. The parietal cells is also called oxyntic cells. So the mucus cells that line the gastric pits and the entrance of the gland, and they secrete a thin watery mucus, and the deep part of the gastric gland which is lined by the chief cells and parietal cells. The chief cells which is present here, and the chief cells that secrete the enzyme precursor pepsinogen. After activation it become the pepsin, and the parietal cell which is present here, which is also called oxyntic cells, that secrete HCl and the some intrinsic factor. There are also surface epithelial cells present in the that line the gastric pits, and these surface epithelial cells that secrete a thick viscous alkaline mucus that form a visible layer of several millimeter thick over the surface of the mucosa. So these exocrine secretions are all released into the gastric lumen, and collectively they all make up the gastric digestive juice. Now we will learn about the endocrine and paracrine cells that is present in the oxyntic mucosa as well as in pyloric gland area. So in the pyloric gland area, there are two type of cells present, namely G cells and D cells. And in the oxyntic mucosa, there is also enterochromaffin-like cells or ECL cell is present. The G cell, which is found in the gastric pits only in the PGA, that secrete the hormone gastrin into the blood, and it is the endocrine type of cell, and its secretion is hormone. So the D cells that scattered in the gland near the pylorus but are more numerous in the duodenum also, and it secrete paracrine somatostatin. And the enterochromaffin like cell that disperse among the parietal and the chief cells in the gastric gland of the oxyntic mucosa, and it secrete the paracrine histamine. Now we can summarize the stomach mucosa and the gastric glands which is present in the oxyntic mucosa and in the pyloric gland area. So there are two type of mucosa which line the stomach, that is oxyntic mucosa and PGA. And these oxyntic mucosa and pyloric gland area have several type of the exocrine cells and the endocrine as well as paracrine cells. So in this figure and table that lists the exocrine cell, the exocrine cell consists mucous cells here, the chief cells and the parietal cells. The mucous cells that is secrete alkaline mucus after the stimulation of mechanical stress by the content, food content, and it has a function to protect the mucosa against the mechanical stress and from the pepsin and the acid injury. The chief cells that is present in the oxyntic mucosa that secrete pepsinogen, and after the stimulation of acetylcholine and the gastrin, it secrete pepsinogen, and after secretion of the pepsinogen, when it activated by the HCl and the pepsin, it begin the protein digestion. The parietal cells which is also present in the oxyntic mucosa, and after stimulation of acetylcholine, gastrin and the histamine, it release the HCl, and after secretion of the HCl activate pepsinogen and break down the connective tissue. It also denature the protein. It kills the microorganism. So there are some intrinsic factor which is secreted by the parietal cell also after the stimulation of the acetylcholine, gastrin and histamine, and it facilitate the absorption of vitamin B12. So there are some endocrine and paracrine cells also present in the pyloric gland area and the oxyntic mucosa. In the previous slide, we have discussed that the G cell and D cell, G cell, G for gastrin, and it secrete gastrin, and D cell that secrete somatostatin, and that it is a paracrine type of cells, and G cell is a endocrine cells, and one is enterochromaffin like cell is also present in the oxyntic mucosa of the stomach. So now we will look the function and the activation of the these hormones. So actually the enterochromaffin like cell that present in the oxyntic mucosa, after stimulation of acetylcholine and the gastrin, it release histamine, and the histamine perform some function to stimulate the parietal cells. So the G cell, when is stimulated by the protein products and acetylcholine, it release the gastrin hormone, and the gastrin stimulate the parietal cells and uh, chief cells as well as the enterochromaffin like cells. The D cell, after stimulation of the acid, it secrete somatostatin, and the somatostatin inhibit the parietal cells, G cell and enterochromaffin-like cells. So now we will learn about the pepsinogen activation in the stomach. So how a pepsinogen is activated by the action of HCl, and we know that the pepsinogen is released by the chief cells and the HCl is secreted by the parietal cells. This is the parietal cells that release or secrete HCl. Actually, the parietal cell actively secrete HCl into the lumen of the gastric pits, which in turn empty into the lumen of the stomach. So, as a result of HCl secretion, the pH of luminal content fall as low as 2. So, in the lumen, HCl activate the pepsinogen enzyme to its active form into the pepsine by cleaving off a small fragment. So once pepsinogen is activated, the pepsine autocatalytically activate the more pepsinogen enzyme and begin the protein digestion. So the secretions of pepsinogen in the inactive form prevent it from the digesting the protein structure of the cells in which it produced. So now we will understand the mechanism of HCl secretion. The HCl is not secreted as a whole. Actually, the hydrogen ion and chloride ion are actively transported by the separate pumps in the parietal cell's plasma membrane. So by using this figure, we can understand the mechanism of HCl secretion by the parietal cells. This is the parietal cells in which some reaction and transport happen that will be understand using this pathway. Actually, water molecule is present in the parietal cell that get dissociated into the H plus and hydroxy ion. So the hydrogen ion then actively transported to the gastric lumen using H plus K plus ATPase active transport pump. In response to the transportation of one hydrogen ion to the gastric lumen, one potassium ion is transported into the parietal cells. This potassium ion then transported to the gastric lumen through the passive diffusion. The hydroxyl ion that is produced by the dissociation of water molecule then combine with the carbon dioxide molecule to form the bicarbonate. Actually, the carbon dioxide, which is either metabolically produced in the cell or it can also be diffused in the parietal cell, that is from the plasma, and after diffusion from the plasma or by the generation of it through the cellular metabolism process, this CO2 molecule will combine to the hydroxy molecule, hydroxy ion molecule to form the bicarbonate. Actually, the bicarbonate is produced by the catalytic activity of the carbonic anhydrase enzyme. So the carbonic anhydrase enzyme is required for the generation of bicarbonate ion. So after production of the bicarbonate ion, this bicarbonate ion then transported to the plasma, blood plasma, and in this response, one bicarbonate is transported to the plasma, one chloride ion should transport to the parietal cell for the ionic balance, and the transportation of bicarbonate and the chloride ion happen through the secondary active transport pump. So once a chloride ion is diffused or transported to the parietal cell, it then diffused to the gastric lumen through the passive diffusion. So in the previous slide, we learned how HCl is produced from the parietal cells, also called auxentic cells. So now we will investigate the function of HCl. Actually, HCl activate the enzyme precursor pepsinogen to active form pepsin and provide an acid medium that is optimal for the pepsin activity. So it aid in the breakdown of the connective tissue and muscle fiber, and it also reduces the large food particle into the smaller particle. So HCl is denature the protein, that is it uncoil protein from their highly folded final form, thus exposing more of the peptide bond for the enzymatic attack. So along with the salivary lysozyme, HCl kills most of the microorganism ingested with the food. Although some microorganisms do escape and continue to grow and multiply in the large intestine. So now we will investigate the function of pepsinogen enzyme. The pepsinogen is an inactivated enzyme molecule that is produced by the chief cells. So the pepsinogen is stored in the chief cell cytoplasm within the secretory vesicles known as zymogen granules. This pepsinogen is released by the exocytosis process on appropriate stimulation. So when pepsinogen is secreted into the gastric lumen, HCl cleave off a small fragment of the molecule and convert it into the active form, that is pepsin. And once the pepsin is formed, it acts on other pepsinogen molecule to produce more pepsin molecule through the autocatalytic or self-activating process. So the pepsin initiate protein digestion by splitting certain amino acid linkage in the protein to yield the peptide fragment, and it work more effectively in the acid environment which is provided by the HCl. So because the pepsin can digest protein, it must be stored and secreted in an inactive form. So it does not digest the protein of the cell in which it formed. So therefore the pepsin is maintained in the inactive form of the pepsinogen until it reaches the gastric lumen, where it is activated by the HCl secreted into the lumen by a different cell type. Now we will investigate the function of mucus. Actually, the mucus is produced by the surface epithelial cell and the mucus cells, and the surface of gastric mucosa is covered by the layer of mucus which is produced from the surface epithelial cell and mucus cells, and after production of the mucus, it serves a protective barrier against several forms of potential injury to the gastric mucosa. It has a lubricating property, hence it protects the gastric mucosa against the mechanical injury. The mucus also helps protect the stomach wall from the self-digestion because the pepsin is inhibited when it comes in contact with the mucus layer that coat the stomach lining. So being the alkaline, the mucus help protect against the acid injury by the neutralizing HCl in the vicinity of the gastric lining, but it does not interfere with the function of HCl in the lumen. So whereas the pH in the lumen may be as low as 2, the pH in the layer of the mucus adjacent to the mucosal cell surface is about 7. Now we will understand the control of gastric secretions. The gastric secretions can be influenced by the factor that arising before food ever reaches to the stomach, that is cephalic phase. Another factor resulting from the presence of the food in the stomach, that is gastric phase, and the factor in the duodenum after the food has left the stomach, that is called intestinal phase. So now we will understand the cephalic phase of gastric secretion. Actually, cephalic means the head. The cephalic phase of gastric secretion is referred to the increased secretion of HCl and pepsinogen that act in feed-forward fashion in response to the stimulus act in the head even before food reaches to the stomach. So when we think about the food, when we taste a food, when we smell a food, when we chew the food, or when we swallow the food, that increase the gastric secretion by the vagal nerve pathway, and the vagus nerve stimulated by this stimulus, and it activate the intrinsic plexus as well as the G cell. So when the intrinsic nerves is stimulated, it activate the acetylcholine, and the acetylcholine is stimulate the chief cell to produce the pepsinogen, and it also stimulates the parietal cell to produce the HCl. The stimulated G cell that secrete gastrin, and the gastrin has also a stimulatory effect on the chief cell and parietal cell as well as on the enterochromaffin like cell that produce histamine. So this pathway is uh, corresponding for the excitatory mechanism for enhancing gastric secretion through the cephalic phase. So now we will understand the gastric phase of gastric secretion. So the gastric phase of gastric secretion begins when food actually reaches to the stomach, and the stimuli that act in the stomach are presence of protein, peptide fragment. The food presence in the stomach is also cause distension, or it exert a pressure on the gastric wall. The caffeine and alcohol also has a stimulatory effect for the gastric secretions. So these stimulus then activate the vagal nerves, and it also stimulate the intrinsic nerves as well as G cells. The intrinsic nerves that stimulate the chief cells and parietal cells, and the G cell after stimulation it releases the gastrin hormone, and it also stimulates the chief cell and parietal cell to release the pepsinogen as well as HCl. The gastrin also stimulates the ECL cell to release the histamine, and the histamine once secreted it also has a stimulatory effect on the chief cell and parietal cells. Actually the caffeine and alcohol also stimulate the secretion of highly acidic gastric juice even when no food is present. So this unnecessary acid can irritate the lining of the stomach and duodenum. So therefore, from this reason, people with the ulcer or gastric hyperacidity should avoid the coffee or caffeinated and alcoholic beverages. In a previous slide, we have investigate the activation of gastric secretion or stimulation of gastric secretions. So in this slide, we will learn and we will understand how a gastric secretion is inhibited. Actually, the gastric secretion gradually decreased as food empty from the stomach into the intestine. So the presence of food in the intestine as well as empty of the stomach, that poses a inhibitory effect by the three different way for the inhibition of gastric secretion. So from this figure we can understand the mechanism of inhibition for the gastric secretion. Actually, in the body and the antrum part of the stomach, when the removal of the protein, peptide, or removal of the distension of the stomach takes place, it inhibits the intrinsic nerve, vagus nerve, and G cell. So when G cell is inhibited, the gastrin production become low, and it also resulting the lower histamine production. So overall, the gastric secretion is lower. In the antrum and the duodenum area, there is accumulation of the acid that stimulate the D cell, and the D cell after stimulation produced somatostatin, and when the somatostatin is produced, it inhibit the parietal cell, it inhibit the G cell and ECL cell. So the parietal cell when inhibit, which release HCl, and the G cell which inhibit, then it could not produce the gastrin, and the ECL cell that produce the histamine, it also get reduced. So overall gastric secretion will hinder or it will reduce. The third way for the inhibitory mechanism of gastric secretion is the presence of fat, acid, hypertonicity, and distension in the duodenum, which is also called intestinal phase of gastric secretion. So in the duodenum, when fat, acid, hypertonicity, and distension is present, it has positive effect or it stimulates the enterogastric reflexes, and by this stimulation, the enterogasterone, that is cholecystokine and secretin, is enhanced. So it has also a negative effect, and it will be inhibit the parietal cell, it will inhibit the chief cell, and it will inhibit the stomach muscle cells, uh, that is smooth muscle cell, and this inhibitory effect reduce the gastric secretion and motility. So we have understand and investigated that how the gastric secretion is stimulated as well as inhibited by the various factors. So we have already investigated the control mechanism of gastric secretion. So one thing is also important, that presence of gastric mucosal barrier. Actually, a mucus coating is present, and gastric mucosa barrier that prevent the stomach from the injury. And there are four type of the component of the gastric mucosa barrier enable the stomach to contain the acid without injuring itself. So first is the presence of luminal membrane of the gastric mucosal cell that are impermeable to the hydrogen ion as well as the HCl, that cannot cross the or penetrate to the cells. Second component of the gastric mucosal barrier is the cells junctions. Actually, these two cells are joined through the tight junction, and this presence of the tight junction prevent the HCl to penetrate between them. The third component of gastric mucosa barrier is a mucus coating. The mucus coating over the gastric mucosa serve as a physical barrier to the acid penetration. And the fourth component of the gastric mucosa barrier is the presence of bicarbonate ions. The bicarbonate rich mucus serve as a chemical barrier that neutralize the acid in the vicinity of the mucosa. So even when the luminal pH is 2, the mucus pH is 7. So now we will learn about the digestive process in the stomach. Actually, there are two separate digestive process takes place within the stomach. So in the body of the stomach, food remain in a semi-solid mass because the peristaltic contraction in this region are too weak for a mixing to occur. Because food is not mixed with the gastric secretion in the body of the stomach, a very little protein digestion occur here. So in the interior of the mass, however, carbohydrate digestion continue under the influence of the salivary amylase. The digestion by the gastric juice itself is accomplished in the antrum of the stomach, where the food is thoroughly mixed with the HCl and the pepsin, beginning protein digestion. Now we will see the absorption in the stomach. Actually, there are no food or water is absorbed in the blood through the stomach mucosa. So, however, two noteworthy non-nutrient substances are absorbed directly by the stomach, that is ethyl alcohol and acetyl salicylic acid, that is also called aspirin. So alcohol is somewhat lipid soluble, so it can diffuse through the lipid membrane of the epithelial cells that line the stomach and can enter into the bloodstream through the submucosal capillary. In the highly acidic environment of the stomach lumen, the weak acid are almost totally unionized, that is the hydrogen ion and the associated anion of the acid are bound together. So in an unionized form, these weak acid are lipid soluble, so they can be absorbed quickly by crossing the plasma membrane of the epithelial cell that line the stomach. So most of other drugs are not absorbed until they reach to the small intestine. So they do not begin to take effect as quickly. So these are the references by which you can learn uh, more aspects of the human physiology or medical physiology. And now I am closing this lecture and I am inviting you all to join our next class, that is based on the pancreas and liver secretions or bile juices, how the pancreas and bile is required for the digestion process. This all will cover in the next lecture. So thank you very much for listening me, and I am inviting you all for the next lecture, so you should join our next lecture.